Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Fiction Room. Today's writing prompt comes to us from username HexerNano. The prompt is, you discover a library with a biography for everyone on Earth. While reading your own, you notice that whenever someone else is mentioned, there's a footnote showing where you can find their biography. It's odd how someone who was only a sentence in your book has a whole chapter for you. Our first story today is written by Rarely Funny. The 2nd of February, 2067. The massive computer filled the laboratory, a mass of cables and circuitry which towered over Dr. Dane Langley. His team had already adjourned to the pub off campus to celebrate their success. But Dr. Langley wanted a quiet moment with his creation before the government took control of the project the next day. "Rachel," he said, "compile index for me. Dr. Dane Langley." "Compiling in progress," repeated the computer. Electricity thrummed in the air as 1 trillion lines of codes extended their tentacles across the world for the information Dr. Langley sought. Rachel was only the name they used to impart a smidgen of personality into the program. And what a benign name it was for such a monstrous creation. What Rachel was designed to do was to build a comprehensive report of a person using information culled from every conceivable electronic source. Privacy groups had long campaigned for the individual's right to privacy, and there was such widespread support for them in this hyper-connected age that Dr. Langley had to proceed in the utmost secrecy. If it were even known that he had embarked on this journey, he would surely be publicly lynched. "Compiling complete. Do you wish to view your index?" "Yes," said Dr. Langley. "Sort by contributions to my life." A hologram of a bookshelf formed in the air, a collection of motes of light frozen like trapped lightning. A single book spun out from its niche, twirling to reveal Dr. Langley's name embossed on the front. For that was what Rachel was, an incomparable librarian, able to instill order in the chaos of information, to bring together infinite threads of knowledge into cohesive tomes. In other words, Rachel could index any person's entire life in real time and present it as a single book of references. No one escaped her gaze. No one was spared her scrutiny. "Sorting complete." Scroll. 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 Dr. Langley marveled at the accuracy of the indexing. These were the most important people in his life, the ones who impacted him the most. From his parents, to the professors who guided his education, to the politicians who recognized the value of the tool he had promised to fashion. Then, a whim seized him. "Sort by least contributions instead," he said, as a grin crossed his face. "I want to see where my ex-wife ranks." "Sorting complete." Dr. Langley laughed, for there was his ex-wife's name, about 20 ranks from the very bottom. She was just above Perlo, a name he recognized as the grocery bagger he crossed paths with occasionally, and just below Martha, the parking attendant at the campus grounds. Out of the corner of his eye, one name snagged his attention, the way a single bird does to fine cotton shirts. "Rachel, stop. Go back. Back again. Yes, there. Who is... Who is Era 52? Is that a name?" "Yes, it is a name." "No, Rachel. What I mean is that a real entry, or is it a bug? Why does it only say that I once passed Era 52 on the street, and I grumbled at how Era 52 was always in my way?" "Self-diagnosis complete. I do not have any bugs in this current version," said Rachel. I want you to index error 52 then, said Dr. Langley. A tiny flower of dread bloomed in him. If the program were indeed faulty, it would mean weeks, months of corrections before he could hand off the project. Index error 52 fully. I want to know who this person is.
Indexing complete.
Scroll. 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 The command died on his lips as the information in the hologram burned its way into his eyes. This is impossible, he said. Rachel, who is this entity Error 52? Why are there so many accounts of him, or her, helping me?
Because those accounts are true, Dr. Langley. In 2017, when you were born, Error 52 was there to manually regulate the incubator and to prevent you from overheating. A technician had missed the faulty wiring, which would have led to you overheating, and quite possibly dying.
But how would he, or she...
In 2023, said Rachel, who, if she actually had feelings, would have been slightly miffed at the implication that she was faulty. Error 52 was there to honk at a driver who was drunk and who had not seen you cycling across the street. My probability analysis shows that you may have perished otherwise, flattened under 2 tons of steel. In 2028, in 2035, in 2044.
Dr. Langley sat motionless. Long after Rachel had finished reciting the 1,001 ways he could have died. It was not accurate to say that his mind was a blank. Rather, it was a firework festival of neurons as he delved into the infinite possibilities. But the answer eluded him. Rachel, he said finally, who is Error 52? Why can I not see his or her name? Where is he, or she, now?
I cannot answer in the way you have queried, said Rachel.
What do you mean? Are you lacking information? How can that be? I have given you the world! Rachel was quiet for a moment, before she replied.
I cannot answer because you used the wrong syntax. Error 52 is not one man or one woman. It is a group, a collective of people. Please rephrase your question and try again.
Our second story today is written by Nick of Night. I ran my finger along the frayed volumes until I found the single ancient tome I was searching for. As I plucked it from its shelf, a plume of dust exploded around me, forcing me to step back, coughing and wheezing. I half expected a wizard to appear as the ephemeral fog settled on the ground. There was nothing there, of course, apart from the ornately carved bookshelf. The book was a burnt brown, and while still a thick volume, was noticeably lighter than my own had been. My own book of death. A biography that charted my life up to now, up until stumbling upon the library of threads and closing the door after me, accidentally locking myself inside. I knew why the entries stopped where they did, after me finding the library. I knew I wasn't getting out of here. There was only one door, and it wouldn't budge no matter how hard I rammed my shoulder against it. The book in my hands had that musty, comforting smell all old books tend to have. I blinked back my tears, determined to distract myself from my rumbling stomach and dry throat. I placed the book down on the floor and sat in front of it, legs folded, flipping it open to the appendix. Thousands of names were listed, dozens of other Karens even. I took a moment to find my surname.
There must have been a mistake. Hundreds of pages were attributed to me. This person that I couldn't even recall meeting, who had only a single line in my own book, had hundreds of pages on me. It must be a different Karen that shared my surname. It wasn't. I began to read. "Mind if I join you?" said Karen, as she approached the building's ledge. The fading sun cast a pastel orange over the street below, softening the city's imperfections and turning the more pleasing sights into objets d'art. The man glanced over his shoulder. He was pale, and there was a sheen over his face as if he was ill. Karen did not notice. "Free world," he said, shrugging. The concrete felt cold and rough under Karen as she sat down next to him. She swung her legs around so that they dangled beside his. "Karen, by the way," she said, before waiting for a response that didn't come. "Not the best spot for fishing," she attempted, lighting a cigarette. She offered the box to the man. He raised a hand and shook his head. "You don't mind if I do?" she said, already puffing a hazy mist over the city. "Chilly up here." For a while they sat silently watching the beams of the headlights sail by far below. Then the man spoke. "You ever think about leaning forward and..." He clapped his hands. "Splat." "Splat?" Karen frowned. "No, not really. Maybe of falling in general, occasionally. Of what the wind would feel like against my face, and that rush you'd get for a few seconds. I wonder what pose I'd do. Superman, I guess. It's the classic." "I think about it sometimes." "Had a rough day?" The man sighed. "Yeah, I got some bad news." "Sorry to hear that." "Thanks." Karen took another puff. "So? What news?" "Got a problem with my liver." "Oh? What kind of problem?" "Cancer." "Oh." Karen turned and looked at the man. She finally noticed how pale he looked, how worn out, like a piece of elastic stretched to the point of tearing. And then she noticed his hands, the silver band around his finger. "You haven't told her yet?" The man looked at Karen, then down at his ring. "No. I was just... Oh, I don't know." "Got kids?" "Yeah. Little girl," he said proudly. He opened his jacket and pulled out his wallet. There was a picture of a kid. Couldn't have been more than 6, grinning broadly. "She's cute." "Takes after her pop," the man joked. "If you say so." "It's just... It'll be hard for them, you know. To watch a slow decline. All the treatments. All the hope, you know. It'll just make it worse in the end." "Be harder losing a father when they might not have to." "Maybe." "You kidding? You can't really think..." He shook his head. "I don't know." "Well, if I was your daughter, I sure as heck would want my pop to fight for me. To never give up on me. It's what dads do." Karen patted him on the back, then glanced at her watch. "Oh, great. I gotta get back to work. See you around." I felt scalding tears spill down my cheek as I flicked forward a few pages. He told them. His wife held his hand as he entered the hospital to begin chemotherapy. I skipped a few more, then a few hundred. I landed on and read the entire chapter on his daughter's graduation. He was so proud. He was somehow prouder still on the day he walked her down the aisle Then I came across another section with my name in it. My hands began to tremble as I read. Perhaps it was serendipity that drew David to the Thread Library and to Karen. Perhaps it was simply fate that allowed David to save Karen this time around.
"Hello? Is anyone here?"
he said as he stepped inside. Fate that he found her sitting there, weeping, in front of the ancient tome. That he was able to take her hand and lead her out of the library. My hands trembled as I closed the book and held my breath, hoping, praying.
"Hello? Is anyone here?"
Thanks again for listening to The Fiction Room. If you like what you heard, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. It really does help us. But for now, stay safe out there, everyone. See you next time.